Anytime Marathon.
Anytime Marathon.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be moving on to the next part of the program. We're looking at a couple of presenters. I'd like to invite our first presenter. Our first session, we have a couple of sessions. I'll just run through them very quickly. The first session is on building a just ferry culture, focus on Africa. The second session is on safety of ferry operations. The third one is on the Libreville Action Plan. Libreville Action Plan. And then finally we will have our General Manager Laswa for the development of the Omi Eco project. So we have 4 sessions in one for a total of 1 hour, 10 minutes. These 4 presenters will do justice to the topics that I have just mentioned. So first of all, I'd like to invite Mr. Mike Corrigan, CEO, Ferry. A round of applause for him as he comes forward. You're welcome, sir. All right. I'd like to invite to the stage as well Mrs. Marianne Pastrana, Chairman, Archipelago Philippines Ferries Corporation. If your hands are not too tired, please put your hands together for her as she comes forward. Thank you so much. And for the Libreville, you're welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us here. Professor Heba from the World Maritime University. Thank you for joining us. For the Libreville Action Plan, please welcome with me Dr. Paul Adaliko, Secretary General, MOCA. A round of applause for him as he comes forward. You're welcome, sir. And permit me to welcome our very own General Manager, LASWA, Mr. Oluwadamilola Emmanuel. You're welcome, sir. So for the next 1 hour, 10 minutes, they will be giving us their presentations. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we will take all the questions for all of the speakers at the end of the session. So if you have any questions, I enjoin you to write them down, and they will take all your questions at the end of the session. I'm going to be handing over the microphone to the first speaker, which is Mr. Corrigan. You're welcome.
Can we get the PowerPoint up, please? Caro, bonjour, and welcome. Je ne parle pas français, excusez. I have to do my presentation in English today. I'm here today to present to you a just safety culture. And this is where we roll up our sleeves as ferry operators, legislators, regulators, and we say, how can we actually build a safer ferry system? So I'm going to present today with Ms. Marianne Pastrana, who's the chair lady of Archipelago Philippine Ferries, a proud Interferry member who has a very similar story to many people in this room when she started with the Interferry family in 2010. So really looking forward to that. And she's a dynamic speaker, so I've really got my work cut out for me to try to outperform Marianne today. So I want to talk to you about, when I was thinking about what can I bring here to talk about safety. Safety's been my passion for many years, and I thought, well, really, it comes in 3 parts. What I learned as a young man from safety from my father, what I learned from safety leading BC Ferries in Canada, which is the country I'm from, one of the biggest ferry operators in the world, and then what we're doing here at Interferry around ferry safety. And on that topic, if you look on your desks, you'll see, or on your tables, you'll see stickers. And on the left-hand side of that is the ferry safety program from Interferry. So those stickers are for you to take away, display proudly wherever you would like, bring them back to your coworkers or your friends, but please take those stickers away. So one thing that we need to make clear is that we're here to share and learn from you as well. This isn't coming in to dictate or preach. It's sharing with you what we know and learning from you what you guys are doing and where we can take this to other parts of the world. because Ferry Safe is a worldwide ferry initiative. And the last part I want to leave you with, which you'll see in my presentation, is that tragedies can happen anywhere in the world, even in the developed world, even in Canada. So I want to lead into my presentation by talking about this slide here. So can you move the camera off the slide, please? Okay, so why do I have a miner up there, and what does that have to do with ferries? So the gentleman on the left is my father. He went into the mines when he was 14 years old in northern Canada. I grew up in a town in northern Canada, a mining town. So he profoundly changed my life from a safety perspective because he was running a mine at the time. The middle picture shows my father and myself, me as a young, slim man with hair, and my dad kind of looking like I do now in many ways, so it goes full circle. But the story is that my father ran this mine, and he was very proud to run the mine, and there was a rock burst underground. So if you've ever been in a mine, so 1,200 feet, 4,000 feet underground, 1,200 meters down below, there was a rock burst. And basically 4 men were trapped down there. So my father spent 27 hours crawling on his hands and knees trying to get to these men to save them. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to save any of them. And the last one died 27 hours later with my dad reaching through a boulder and holding on to his hand as he perished. And that man has just gotten married, and his wife was having a baby. So you can imagine the impact that had on me as a young man and on my father. And my dad sat me down as a 23-year-old young man, just about to get married to Sherry, and promised me that I would do everything I could to improve safety as we go forward. So that's what safety means to me. And the picture on the right is I guess not a celebration, but a remembrance they just had back in Sudbury, Ontario, about these miners. So safety is important in everything that we do. So carrying on to the second stage of my presentation is about British Columbia ferries. So fast forward from 1984 to 2003, I take on a role at BC Ferries coming from the energy industry. I'm building vessels for BC Ferries, which is what I'm coming in to do, building large vessels. We just signed contracts with the Germans to build some large vessels. Things seem to be going very well at the British Columbia Ferries, and all of a sudden we had the most tragic event you can imagine at British Columbia Ferries. I wasn't in operations at the time. I was building ships, but still, I was an senior executive in the organization when this vessel here actually sank So on May 22nd, 2006, 101 passengers and crew were on this vessel, which was transiting down, coming from the north to the south through northern British Columbia, and had 14 minutes to make a course correction and never made that course correction. And it hit an island, it sank, and we saved 99 people, but we lost 2 people, Gerald Foisey and Shirley Rosette. And there's not too many days that go by. People at BC Ferries don't think about that. And we have 2 of my colleagues who worked at BC Ferries at the time who will present later on, Jeff Joyce and Darren Johnson. They can tell how this has impacted them as well. So anyway, so this vessel was the pride of the fleet in many ways. It was 126 meters long, carried 700 passengers and 115 vehicles. So this is essentially what happened. So that's the vessel transiting south, a normal night, reasonable visibility. Nothing else is really happening that night. The ship sailing due south for 14 minutes, needs to make a 20-degree port course correction, and never makes it. You can see it hits Gill Island, basically tears open about 3 or 4 watertight compartments on the side of the vessel, and essentially sinks into 400 meters of water. So that was a defining moment for our company. The company in Canada, which we consider to be a developed nation with a strong safety culture, but that was a defining moment for our organization as she basically went down, never recovered the bodies. There's still a number of vehicles on the vehicle decks there. So it's a pretty compelling story in terms of why safety is important to all of us. Okay, so that's a picture of the vessel that was just taken recently, still in 400 feet of water. It can't be recovered from the bottom of the ocean. It's just too far. So very sad story in many ways, but then the positive things happen. Sometimes you need to have a burning platform or a tragedy to change the culture in an organization. And that's what we were able to do over about a 10-year period, building a just safety culture, which is the theme of our presentation today. So we came up with a program at BC Ferries called Sail Safe. And essentially, I'll go through a little bit of that in terms of what we did. And essentially what we did at BC Ferries is really what we're going to talk about for the next 2 days. All the things you need to do to have a safer safety culture in an organization. So we built this program called Sail Safe. And so what did we find out from Sail Safe? Building a just safety culture, which is a learning safety culture, which is where you learn from your incidents, accidents, mistakes. You report them so they don't happen again. There's no negative consequences to the people who report unless there's gross negligence, which in the vast majority of cases there never are. So what does it take to have the right safety culture? It starts with the people at the top. There has to be a buy-in from the board, the management, the regulators, the administrators, that they truly want to change their safety culture. That means a switch has to go on in your head to change your attitude, your values, and your beliefs. Until that happens, nothing changes. So if you leave here with one thing today, please remember the message that I'm delivering about the need to be safety. And how do we do it? Well, first of all, we engage with our union, which is our workforce, 4,500 employees. That was important. We came up with safety issues and fixes, and we actually had our employees identify how we were going to fix them and work on the solutions. And critical to this, and you'll hear more about this tomorrow, is near misses, incidents, accidents reporting. If you don't report it, you don't know what's happening on your vessel. It's going to continue to happen over and over again. So I'm just about ready to turn it over to Mary Ann. So what are the outcomes of our safety culture? So we have human factors training. We have standard operating procedures for all vessels, heavy weather sailing policies, closed loop communications, reduced insurance costs. These are outcomes that you don't necessarily think you're going to have, but what we found in our company is actually, as we got safer, our insurance premiums went down. We actually became more profitable as an organization. Employees became more engaged. So if there's a cornerstone that you can engage your employees in, it's about safety, because everybody cares about safety. So that leads us to our Ferry Safe project, which is the cornerstone for this conference as well, which basically we said that most of the accidents in the ferry world today happen in the developing countries, although as you just saw in my presentation, they also happen in the developed countries. But we want to do what we can within Africa. This is our third event in Africa. We've had events elsewhere, including in Asia, to try to improve safety. And one of the projects that we had, and you'll hear a little bit more from Mary Ann about the Philippines. Can you advance the slides, please? So we went on 2 fact-finding visions in 2019 before COVID. We looked at what was going on. We talked to a number of operators, regulators, sailed on the ferry systems down there for 2 days, put together a report on how to improve safety in the Philippines. And in fact, there's been some major improvements already. We don't take credit for much of it, but we take credit for a little bit of it. So then finally, the key learnings coming out of the Philippines. Can you advance the slides, please? So these were the key learnings, which goes back to exactly almost what we found at BC Ferries in our program. The tone at the top, the political will, people that have the influence and the ability to change the organization. And there was a number of other things we did as well. So that's good. I like that. 2 minutes left. So anyway, so these are the number of things that we learned and the improvements that could happen in the Philippines, which can happen anywhere in the world. And you'll see life jackets on there. You'll see weather forecasting, passage plans. I know you guys have no night sailing policies, and you're renewing your fleet, so you're well on your way. As I started off by saying, to get to a just safety culture can take up to 10 years to be able to do that, all the way through from where you start off to where you finish. You're certainly not at year zero, you're progressing, but we're here to help you. We have people in the room, we have people in our organization that can provide whatever resources that you might need to be able to do that. So that concludes my part of the presentation. Thank you for listening. Can you advance the slide one more, please? Before I introduce Mary Ann Pastrana from Archipelago Philippine Ferries, I'd like to invite her husband to come up for 1 second. I'm going to take up 30 seconds of my time and give it to Chet. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Corrigan. Caro, good morning. Thank you. I believe in destiny and I believe in God's plan. To be part of Interferry for the past 15 years is our destiny. To be here standing in front of you, being one of the panelists today or tomorrow, is a destiny and part of my purpose. To be in an industry in the Philippines, to serve our people and our country to improve safety is my destiny. In 1984, I met this lady and we got married in 85. This day is our anniversary. And to celebrate here in front of you, in front of our family here in Nigeria, is a privilege. I'd like to just greet my wife. Happy 37th anniversary. Thank you. We have 4 kids and 4 grandchildren. So on June 25, 2038 is our 50th wedding anniversary. I'd like to invite you in 2038 from Mocha to Laswa. Please go to the Philippines. We will host you. Maybe we can have a ferry conference together with you and show to you what we have done in the Philippines. To my wife, happy anniversary. You are the wind beneath my wings. You are the reason why I'm here and we are in this industry. I will always love you until I die. Happy anniversary.
Wow. That was a surprise. I was actually going to greet you as well. Happy anniversary. Truly many reasons to celebrate today. We celebrate safety. We celebrate technical cooperation. We celebrate friendship. And yes, thank you for celebrating our anniversary together. Oh, that was loud. And in case you don't know, we are celebrating the International Day of Seafarer as well. And in the Philippines, it's a big, big celebration for us because we are known to be the manning capital of the world. So happy International Day of Seafarer for the seafarers out here. Thank you, Mike, for the intro. I was told I have 10 minutes, so I will put on the timer because I can speak all day. So as introduced, I'm Mary Ann Pastrana, and my husband and I co-founded Archipelago Philippine Ferries Corporation, and we connect the Philippine Islands via ferry boats, and we go by the tagline, very safe, very fast, very convenient. It is our belief that, next slide please, behind every ferry journey is a mother, a child, a worker, a dreamer, and one shared hope: to arrive safely. Safety is not just a rule we follow. It is a promise we make to every life on board. So quickly on the statistics of worldwide ferry accidents. As you can see on the slide, the details are there. And this is a study from Professor Anish and WMU team on the scoping study on safety of domestic ferries on high-risk countries. And these are the 7 countries that are scoped and studied, and that is the distribution. Next slide, please. A study on the ferry
fatalities, as seen on that study, shows that between 2000 to 2021, domestic passenger ferry accidents killed just under 26,000 people in our countries, in these high-risk countries. And 99.5%, this figure is not just a number. It is a mirror reflecting systemic neglect. It urges governments, ferry operators, and international agencies to invest in ferry modernization, strengthen regulatory compliance, improve maritime education and enforcement, and build a just ferry safety culture, especially in developing countries such as ours. A recent research also from WMU says that there are 5 domains of major challenges to ferry safety. That would be on operations, technology, human element, policy, and economics. And I will not go through the details, but allow me to share with you our story. The FastCat's modernization story that we have embarked in 2010. And as Mike said and Chet said, Interferry was very much part of our story. The desire to modernize is because we want change and because we believe that Filipinos deserve better. The slide before, please, will show pictures of the accidents that happened in the Philippines. Doña Paz in 1987, that killed 4,341 people, and several other accidents. We're not very proud of this, but we want to be part of the solution, thus the modernization story. I thank God that I have a husband here who has a vision, courage, and entrepreneurial talent to embark on this modernization of ferry boats in the Philippines. He got the trust of investors and banks, and yes, we were part of connecting our country, that is nation building and national unity for the Philippines. And at the heart of this connection would be our people. Our inspiration would be the Filipino people. As you can see, that's the Philippines, and that is the connection that we do. Yes. Where you see the orange cats, that would be the connection. And we connect the 3 nautical highways of the Philippines in both the central, western, and eastern corridor. If we dig deep on the accidents in the Philippines, 60% of it would be due to capsizing. And that would be because of old ships being imported from Japan and repurposed and rebuilt, and that would be the major contributor of these accidents, and hence our modernization story. So next slide, please. As you can see, when we embarked on this modernization journey in the Philippines, we started with well-designed, safe ships or catamarans, which we branded FastCat. We partnered with agencies like the Marina, PPA, worked with them on how we can affect this safety culture in the Philippines. We have standardized our crew training. We participated in knowledge sharing and research, like the one that Mike mentioned, Ferry Safe Project in the Philippines. And this is really bringing together a fragmented maritime community in the Philippines, and this is being part of the solution. Going deep into our, next slide please, in our standardizing our practices with crew, we embarked on a competency training program wherein we track the progression of the training of our people. We provided cadetship berths to our maritime students so that we can build capacity. We have embarked on digitalization and distance learning training, as well as the use of virtual reality training so that we can future-proof our manpower. And in our snack bars, we have already also exposed them to hotel and restaurant competency training because the cruising industry depend on the Philippines for their workers. Yes, my husband is reminding me to say, that because that is in my next slide, we have created our big, hairy, audacious goal looking 10 years forward, and we aim to have 30 ships in the next 7 years. And we are internationally classed by ABS. We want to be the leading and preferred RoRo shipping in the Philippines. We aspire for operational excellence, innovation, and expansion, and we are digitalizing in the forefront of our life every day. Customer is number one, and we care about their customer experience. We affect other industries like tourism, agriculture, education, and we are aligning and supportive of the Philippine government's MIDP, or the Maritime Industry Development Plan. We are connecting more islands, opening new routes, and we advocate for green shipping. Next slide, please. We were a part of a research, and WMU is pretty much part of it. It's called Safe Mode. And in this, we found that a learning-based, non-punitive approach like the Safe Mode framework cultivates openness and proactivity, aligning with international regulations, investing in terminals, centralizing data, helps build resilience, integrating ferry systems into wider mobility plans, which we found really effective. I shared this in Tanzania, but I can't help but share it again. The next slide, please. This is the safety learning cycle, the result of the Safe Mode research, wherein we capture events, incidents, and Mike touched on this too. So we capture data, events, incidents, accidents, near misses. These are reported, investigated, and we do analysis, we do safety learning afterwards, we do deep learning, and then it goes back to operations and maintenance. And the cycle goes on, and that is the safety learning cycle that we live by. Next slide, please. Of course, we advocate also with a safer maritime future or decarbonization. We are very much aware of the net zero roadmap set by the IMO. In our own little way, we are advocating for changes for decarbonization, such as the installation of decarb equipment in our engines, the use of anti-fouling paint, the use of softwares for stowage so that we are more fuel efficient. We have installed AIS in all our ships, or we also worked with Halbot, which we actually met in Interferry, which is cleaning our hull so that we become more fuel efficient. We know that we are quite far from using hydrogen or methanol as fuel, but we are working towards having hybrid ships in our forthcoming new builds. So, in FastCat, we embrace corporate social responsibility. We take it seriously, and we are happy to affect, next slide please, different sectors such as education, agriculture, tourism, trade, and women. I see the women leaders here. We are very much active in the Philippines. I also serve as Vice President of Women in Maritime Philippines, and we are very much involved in promoting maritime for women, or she-to-sea. We are advocating for safe ships and also women for the marine environment. And for my last slide, you can see that the trend of accidents in the Philippines has gone down thanks to these modernization efforts, thanks to the technical cooperation and help that we get from Ferry, and we look forward to further improvement. So, my Ferry friends and Ferry family, and Africa, let us remember, last slide please, that a culture of safety is not built on policies alone, but by people who care enough to protect each other, because every life matters and every safe arrival is a silent victory we must fight for together. Thank you very much, and mabuhay.
Thank you very much for the two presenters. I will take on from there and talk about the Libreville Plan of Action. Last year, MOCA, in partnership with the International Maritime Organization and the World Maritime University, contacted the government of Gabon due to an accident that occurred there where over 300 persons lost their lives, and the Minister of Transport and Maritime Affairs lost his job as a result of that accident. And so we contacted the government in order to assist in finding solutions to the incessant ferry accidents that occur in our inland waterways. Nigeria is another prime culprit in that regard, because for those who live here, almost on a monthly basis, there is a ferry accident in our inland waterways, and this must stop. Thankfully, the government of Gabon agreed to partner with MOCA for us to have that workshop that was attended by 21 out of the 25 member countries, and we had partnership from the World Maritime University. Professor Heber was there, representation from the International Maritime Organization in London, and we had a successful conference. The Libreville Plan of Action was the outcome of that workshop. Professor Heber will speak on some aspects of that workshop, but just as a highlight, we came up with 9 goals at the end of that workshop. One of them was an effective safety culture, to put in place an effective mechanism to promote and strengthen safety culture in all areas of domestic ferry operations. We also agreed on safety arrangement, safety management, and governance to ensure adequate provision of safety management systems and governance mechanisms ashore and on board. We also came away with occupational safety and health management in our ferry system to ensure adequate provision of occupational health and safety systems ashore and on board. We also agreed on goal number 4, navigation and radio communications, to ensure all domestic ferries carry appropriate navigational and communication equipment, taking into account the size, capacity, navigational limits, and including navigational charts and approved weather monitoring equipment. I'm glad to say that the DG of the Nigeria Meteorological Agency, NIMET, is here. He will be speaking later today on safe navigation and the role of weather in ferry movement and safety. We also talked about stowage and securing, ensuring that dangerous goods are not carried on board for the safety of the vessel itself, passengers on board, and prevention of pollution of the marine environment. And then seaworthiness of vessels. Ms. Pastrana talked about boats and vessels capsizing because of their unworthiness to be at sea. We must ensure that prior to departure and arrival, the domestic ferry is seaworthy and the crew is fit and proper for the voyage. Another area was full compliance, to ensure that every ferry that is allowed to sail is in full compliance with the provisions of the relevant safety regulations. Lagos has become a model in this regard for Nigeria. We can attest to that. And then aids to navigation, to ensure provision of sufficient number of aids to navigation to facilitate safe navigation. And finally, marine casualty investigation. Oftentimes when accidents occur, we guess the number of casualties, those that have perished and those that are lucky to be alive. We must ensure that at any marine casualty or marine accident involving a domestic ferry, they shall be promptly investigated by the competent authority and duly recorded, with emphasis on why and how it occurred, and ensure appropriate measures are taken by all relevant parties to avoid similar or near similar future occurrences. These were the key takeaways from the Libreville conference that we had. I will yield the floor to my colleague, Professor Heba, to continue from there. Thank you very much.
Can we have the PowerPoint, please? So while the PowerPoint is coming up, first and foremost, I would like to take the opportunity to thank the hosts, ASWA, MOCA, and Ferry, for organizing this very wonderful event. I must also apologize for my attire, and that's solely because of lessons not learned. 18 years ago, I was attending a NATO conference in Italy, and that time I changed 3 flights, and when I arrived at the destination, I was all by myself with my laptop and without the bag. 18 years later, I arrived in Lagos, again changing 3 flights, only with my laptop, without the baggage. The other thing was I was wearing green corduroy in 18 years back, and again I'm in the grey corduroy. So that seems to be a coincidence. And I'm without a tie, unlike her. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's okay. Thank you very much. Yeah. So that's the fun part of it. But coming to Dr. Paul's presentation, one very important thing must be said. Last year was 2024, and discussions on ferry safety have gone on for nearly 40 years now. Ferry has been a leader. They pioneered and they partnered with IMO, and many of these regional, international, sub-regional conferences, many things have happened over the last nearly 40 years. And if you look at the track record at IMO, Libreville was not the first action plan. There were more than half a dozen action plans, including in the Pacific, in Indonesia, twice in the Philippines. The Manila Statement was one of the biggest, which coincided with the STCW code, and so on and so forth. And last year, history was made in Africa with one of the most formal commitments to safety with the Libreville Plan of Action. And I must really thank MOCA and of course Ferry for this first time. Of course, Africa has been associated with all these initiatives, but first time we have come together to really formalize and take it forward. So thank you very much. But writing down a plan is only the first step, and that's the start to the more formal process. So let's see what we have in store as the more formal process. Are we getting the PowerPoint? Yeah, it's here. And I believe I can use my pointer. I think it's not working. So next slide, please. So, key regional theaters. So if you see last couple of years, there has been some action going on in Africa. Yes, in other parts of the world, but more so in Africa. Kampala in 2023. Some of you have been attending. It's like a common pool of people. We rotate around these forums. Yeah? And then 2024, it has heated up. There were 3. And these are the ones I know. There may be more. There was one in Dar es Salaam, the Libreville, and a month later there was in Abidjan as well. And 2025, we are in Lagos. What about the next year and the year after? Do we have any thoughts? Let's see. Next slide, please. We have to be faster, otherwise I'll lose my 10 minutes. Oh, you skipped one slide, one back. Yeah. Can you go back one slide? Yeah, sorry, next one. Yeah. Roadmap. So in 2020, there was a roadmap of measures. So this was one of the first international measures which was taken at the IMO to enhance safety. And then there was a decision made that we need to formally agree on some model regulations. And that was adopted in 2022 by the Maritime Safety Committee. But when you look back, there was already one global regulations in the late 90s. It was 95 or 96. And then last year, there was the plan of action. And you see it fits very well. And that takes forward the model regulations. So it doesn't stand in isolation. So I wanted to show you the perspective that it is rooted in the model regulations. So when you hear all the topics, they are actually founded on the model regulations which have been adopted at the IMO. And MOCA was the first. So MOCA has been a trailblazer, and then this idea was taken forward. We took this idea to the Pacific community. So there is a similar plan of action, almost the same, which is adopted in the Pacific. This was also presented in the ASEAN, but of course they're not calling it plan of action, they're calling it best practices. And now we are in 2025 in Lagos, because I wanted to think critically. We have done something already last year. What do we want to do this year? What do we want to do in the years ahead? Next slide, please. here I highlight a couple of things which is ongoing in 2025, because we are in 2025. At least I can tell you what IMO and World Maritime University is doing. We are using the model regulations, and we are coming out with a training manual. We'll be having an e-learning module. There are some things already out there on the platform, and we are also compiling best practices. In fact, earlier this year, you must have seen a Secretary General's letter, the IMO Secretary General's letter, requesting for contribution of best practices. So I will take this opportunity to invite each one of you to make your contribution, send it to us at safety@wme.se, and the website will be up and running early next year, and then you will see your name somewhere for your company or for your ship or your government. When we talk of the formal studies, there were several hazard studies. Of course, Philippines was one of the pioneers for the studies. There was one in Indonesia as well. And then the scoping study was mentioned, 2022. And there was a bigger study which was undertaken. Hazard identification is a small part. The bigger one is the assessment, finding solutions to the hazards. So that was again done in the Philippines. It was one of the biggest studies ever. It went on for nearly 2 years. And that was the time we met Marianne Pastrana, trying to see what is the good things which are being done in the Philippines. And then, what is being done now, I've already explained. And this will be concluding by the end of the year. But what in the future? I'm always trying to foresee. Next. So, the role of the model regulations, if you read them carefully, especially the preamble, there are two parts to it. One is the national part, where you try to do things, take measures within your country. But the more important part, which is also the aim of the model regulations, is the regional basis for cooperation. So whenever we think of safety, it cannot be done all by yourself. So you have to collaborate with the industry, you have to collaborate with every ship, you have to collaborate with your neighbors, you have to collaborate in the region. So the model regulations, when you look at it carefully, especially the safety culture, and that underlines the presentation by Mike, that also underlines the presentation by Marianne Pastrana. Next slide, please. So the core of the model regulations and the core of the action plan is safety culture. And it's a coincidence that we are all using the same basis for our presentation. It's no coincidence, rather. Next slide. So what does safety culture comprise of? I think we need not get into the details because time is short. Several elements have already been mentioned by my previous speakers. Mike has mentioned some. Marianne Pastrana has mentioned some. Next slide, please. How do we conceptualize? So here there are three core things. You can also think of three pillars which have also been mentioned. So technical is the most important part. Design, construction, equipment, maintenance on board the vessels. And then your safety management system. And here there is an IMO instrument which is available, which is called the ISM code, International Code for Safety Management. And I believe there will be some lectures later on. And last but not the least, at least for now, because autonomous vessels are coming in the future, at least for now, there is the human and organizational factors. But even if you take away the human on board, there will still be some human somewhere at the back end, even up in the future. So the human and organizational factors will always remain. Next. So, if I know that I need to have a culture, I also need to analyze where am I today. So you can think of it as 5 steps in culture. The pathological is you just presume. I don't care anything about safety. And the generative is the topmost level of culture where you're forcing, you are acting, and you are preventing everything from happening. So that's the highest end, and you can be somewhere in between. So, next slide, please. Next, I'll skip this one. Yeah. So, if I want to establish a culture of safety on board my vessel, in my company, in my country, in my region, in the whole world, I can ask questions for myself, and you can see over here. And then, there are different ways of looking at it, all the way from pathological approach to the generative culture. You can read it in your own time later when we share it. Yeah? But you can design these questions by yourself as well. Next. I'll skip the theoretical parts. Next slide. So, how can we progress? What are our likely questions? I give you some hints, but you can create your own questions. Next. Model regulations. There is a broad structure. These topics have been covered by Dr. Paul. They are also in the plan. Next. Next. This has been mentioned. Next. Yeah. So how to achieve the objective? Why do you have the plan? The plan is somewhere in the middle. It sets you the direction. So you have your aim, you have your goals, and then you have your actions. And when you listen carefully to Dr. Paul, there are those 11 goals, and then there are 111 actions. Next slide. But the more important part is who is going to take those actions. Next slide. Yeah. Now this is very important to understand. The governments can write on paper, they can create the policy. Regional organizations can create the paper, they can create the framework. But at the heart of everything is the masters or the skippers of those vessels. So they are the foundation. And this foundation is strongly supported by the companies. And then you have the member state, and then you have the regional. So each one of them forms an important layer when we think of the matrix of safety. This is very important to understand. So when I mentioned to you the 11 goals and the 111 actions, they are distributed in these 3 levels. So let us take 2 or 3 examples. Next slide. Next. Safety culture. This has already been mentioned. So if I'm the master of the vessel, I need to start thinking, what does safety culture mean for me? So some drills on board, fire exercise, regular safety meetings, and you can think of something more. How about the company? The company will also have to establish a safety policy. That's the starting point. So what's my safety policy? What is my vision? What is my safety strategy? So on and so forth. And then as a member state, what does safety mean for me? So I need to have my policy at a national level. And this will be driven by the model regulations. So this is the way you can think of each of the goals which are listed in the Libreville Plan of Action. Next, please. Next. Safety management and governance, it's something similar. You start thinking at the ship level, then you think at the company level, and then you can think at the member state level. Next. Accident investigation. Next one. Next. I think he went back so fast. Sorry for this. Yes. Now, this is a very important part. Casualty investigation is also used for lessons learned. It is not for blaming. And to understand and to learn from accidents, you need to have database. So two kinds of databases are very important. First, we need to know what are the vessels which are operating in my jurisdiction. I need to register each of the vessels. I need to have a database of registration. And whenever there are accidents happening or incidents happening, we need to study them carefully, only for the purposes of lessons learned. That's the most underlying thing. And then I need to have a database because it should not be erased from our memory. So that's the takeaway. So every level, there is some responsibility. Investigation at the ship level, the company level, and at the member state and regional level. So I would say this is a pillar apart from registration. Next. So this is the overview. There are several goals over here, as you can see. We have seen briefly how to look at each of them. But now, at the end of the presentation, I would like to highlight goal number 12. Implementation of the action plan, partnership for the goals. Whenever we think of safety, nothing can be achieved if there is no partnership. And the partnership is at the vessel level, companies, the industry, the governments, intergovernmental organizations, even academia like us. So all of us need to work together. And let's see how we can do it. Next slide. So goal number 12 is the essence and the purpose of our meeting over here. The partnership is created by forums, workshops, conferences, studies, reports, whatever. And here, if you look at the MOCA and the member states, what can we do? We can establish and monitor indicators. This has been mentioned last year. So first and foremost, we need to define what do I want to measure. To improve safety, I need to know where am I today, where do I want to be in the future, and how am I going to get there? Yeah. So what do I want to measure? So that's the starting point. Who will measure? How will it be measured? How can we use it? And that's where the role comes in for universities and institutions like us. And then, there's no point in doing this research and hiding it, storing it somewhere. We need to disseminate the results. And it's always not only about accidents. Unfortunately, whenever we get together here, we are talking of accidents. I would suggest that we focus on best practices. What can we learn from each other? What was the best practice in Canada? What's the best practice in Nigeria? What's the best practice in Uganda, Ghana? I think that is also more interesting. While we can learn from accidents, we can learn much more from best practices. 1 minute or 2 minutes? 2 minutes still. Excellent. Yeah. Thank you. Next slide. Yeah. So, but the partnership continues. It's not only the highest 2 levels. The more important task of the partnerships is at these 3 levels. The master is the foundation for providing all the inputs. What is happening on board? How is the culture maintained on board? How is safety being maintained on board? So those 2 inputs, what are the best practices on board? We can learn from different ships. Every captain has their own way of doing things. Then at the company level, so we have presentations over here. what are the best practices? So we can share this in forums like this. And then we have intergovernmental organizations and states who also provide all this. So these are the key roles when we think of partnership for the goals. And each one has a very important role to play. Next, what should be the theme for this conference? If I'm looking at the future, this is now, I'm preempting the conference resolution. So, Lagos Partnership 2025. Because if we want to build and enhance safety, partnership is the core of everything. And so if I want to implement the deliverable plan of action, and of course it cannot be done in isolation, it will be led by intergovernmental organizations, with intergovernmental organizations like IMO and World Maritime University, and of course nothing can happen without the industry organizations and the industry themselves. And why are we doing this? To achieve and focus and concentrate more on the partnership for the goals. And so the takeaway I would say from this conference is to reaffirm our renewed dedication and commitment, and this is for all of us. MOCA and all the member states represented here, collectively with academia and industry. So, towards Lagos Partnership 2025. Next slide. So, the twin. So, what are we going to do with our partnership? We are going to focus on two things. So, to try and look what are our indicators for safety and what are our best practices. So, these will feed and loop into each other. On one side, you will have the intergovernmental organizations, and on the other side, you will have the support from the academia working together, and of course, the industry is inside these safety indicators and best practices. So this would be my suggestion for this year, 2025. So we adopted the plan last year, so now we start building on our partnerships. So we work together, try to collect our information to see where we are. We need to have our baseline. And then we use the continuous improvement, PDCA cycle. So, but that cannot happen if we don't know where we are today. So where am I standing today? So let's start collecting on this, and this we agreed last year. And now is the time to implement the partnerships. Next, I'm done. I think I spared 1 minute. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Professor Anish. And it's really great to hear you speak, having read so much of the things that you have been proposing. So it's great to have you here. Thank you so much for coming to Lagos, and I hope you have a great time. Marianne, thank you for that powerful presentation. Mike, you got it cracking. And thank you so much, Dr. Paul, as well. Really quickly, I have a presentation, and I believe I have 10 minutes as well. So yesterday night, they sent this presentation to me, and I said to my team, I don't want this presentation, because it just seemed like the same basic thing they tell me to go and be presenting everywhere. So I told them, let's tweak this, turn it upside down, do whatever it thinks you need to do, but I don't want to present that presentation. So whatever you see here was developed by my team, so let's see what it is. I tried not to look at it, but I want to believe that they've done something which I can easily be able to speak to. Because I'm really tired of just coming to speak. I want to be able to see impact, and I want to be able to see that indeed there's effort being put in, and there's a lot of practicality. Thank you. Next slide. So who is LASWA? You don't need to know all of that, because a lot of us already know who LASWA is, all of that. Just some statistics about Lagos: 25 potential commuters, 22% of the water bodies are lagoons and creeks, 15 of our local governments are accessible by water, and we have about 180 kilometers of navigable inland waterways. Next slide. So what have we done in LASWA? I say this very humbly. I've been in LASWA for about 10 years now, 2 years as secretary and 8 years as the general manager. And I remember where we started from. I remember when Mike and the Ferry team and MOCA were in my office, I was able to show them where we started from, in containers under the bridge, and very humble beginnings, which made you be able to really think, so that every time you're in your office, you can always reflect and think about how far have we come and how far do we still want to go, because I believe that in the future, I'll be able to look back and see people actually flying, even in LASWA. So what have we done on the waterways in LASWA? We set up the first of its kind, the Waterways Monitoring and Data Management Center. We've also started to adopt the Cowrie card system, of which the MD Lamata is also here. She's in charge of the rail and the boss, and they actually have pioneered that. And MD Lamata, it will interest you to know that one of the Interferry members actually bought a Cowrie card yesterday, and he's taking it with him. So please, could you stand up? Look at his Cowrie card. He actually said he wanted to buy his Cowrie card, and he took it, he bought it, and is very happy, and is proudly taking it back to Sweden. Then we also introduced drone technology to be able to monitor from the top, and as well we have an underwater drone that helps us identify where there are wrecks, a few navigational aids on our waterways, but we still need to do a lot more in that area. Coming up to search and rescue, this is something that we are quite happy about, because we've been able to increase our search and rescue unit. We actually have the company Bodylon Marine, who is in the room, who has helped us train a lot of our search and rescue team. And of course, the guys, can you stand up? Water guard officers, can you stand up, please? I dare say when we speak about LASWA and they try to give me any glory, I don't want to take the glory. These are the guys who deserve all of the glory. They're there morning and night, slaving it out, working hard, taking all the insults from operators, abuses from operators, making sure that people adhere to safety rules and regulations. When I started in LASWA, there was only 48 of them, and I knew that was a recipe for disaster. Now there are about 103 of them, and proudly, and at that time as well, there was no female. But now we have 6 female, and gradually we are building the females as well. So thank you so much, water guards. I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much. Next slide, please. So what did I want to talk about today? And I told them I was going to put them on the spot. They're hiding somewhere in this room, but they have nowhere to hide. AFD, our partners. From the Friend Development Agency. Can you mind standing up for them to see you? That's Alex and Zach. Thank you so much. So AFD is a French state-owned company in charge of implementing official development assistance, and they're working with us on a new project which you'll be seeing, which is called the Omeoko project. They've been working with Lamata for a very long time in Lagos, and a lot of the investments and things you've seen, even with Lamata as well, have some to do with AFD and other partners as well. Next slide, please. So what did we do? We started with the project preparatory studies to identify what were the opportunities, what exactly did we want to do. So we had feasibility and engineering studies. We had an operational design and a business model. We had an environmental and social impact assessment done as well. And we also had a project management and capacity building to be able to determine the entire scope of the Omeoko project, which I'm presenting. So what do we want to do with the Omeoko project? Very ambitious. I remember being in Hamburg last week, and when I presented and spoke about this, it was extremely, extremely ambitious. I was with operators from China, Sweden, Norway, Venice, and all the different places. So what we're trying to do with the Omeoko project, we want to develop 10 trunk and 5 feeder routes. We want to dredge and mark 140 kilometers of the inland waterways. We want to upgrade 25 ferry jetties and terminals. We want to ensure that these 10 terminals will have electric charging. These 2 of the terminals will have vessel maintenance facilities. Next slide, please. We want to introduce 70 electric vessels. There's still questions on if they're going to be pure electric because of the grid, but from conversations and benchmarking other countries, we might need to consider hybrid electric. And then we want to ensure that we have an ITS system to support this. And lastly, down there we have a fund to support the informal sector, just like the way the buses as well now are doing their best to support the downfalls in Lagos. Next slide. So what are going to be our impact areas? I think I mentioned all of this as well, but there's going to be digital tracking. We hope that this system alone, coupled with other services as well, but this system alone will be able to move 100,000 passengers daily. We can reduce carbon emissions by 30%. And of course, this is almost a 50 billion naira private investment potentially by 2030. Next slide. Main project objectives will be to increase ridership, reduce pollution, green energy use, improve efficiency, enhance safety. We're very happy of how well we've improved safety in Lagos waterways. This is not only due to LASWA, but also the national bodies in the room as well. NIWA and LASWA have worked together to ensure that we can improve safety, and we're happy that Lagos State is number one in Nigeria in terms of safety of the waterways, and we hope to continue to improve on that as well, because there's room for improvement. And of course, update our policy framework, and this project, of course, will create employment as well. Next slide. It's 410 million euros significant investment coming in. From the AFD, we have 130 million euros. From EIB, we have 170 million euros. And we have the largest grants that the EU has ever given to any project in the world, 60 million euros. We have the Lagos State counterpart funding of 40 million euros, and also a private sector who's also meant to invest in the intelligent transport system will contribute 10 million euros. And we're happy to say that just last week, the final person on the list who the funding was not yet has also now approved. Their board has approved, so we have all of that funding now available, and we're going to start the processes to be able to ensure that we can roll up with the project. This just gives you a picture of what we intend things to be like. We believe that this is the 5 Cowrie terminal now, but eventually as we transition with the new boats, that's how 5 Cowrie terminal is going to look with the new ferries alongside it as well. Same thing with the Korodu terminal as well. Potentially this is what we intend for it to look like. And there's nothing like when you have a picture and you're able to dream with the picture, it helps you to be able to know exactly what you want to do. Next slide, please. So, our Omieko vision by 2030 is to have a financially sustainable operations. We're not saying that it would fund the capital subsidy, but operationally it can fund the operational subsidy. Affordability and social inclusiveness is very important for us as well. Engage the informal operators, very important as well, because we need definitely them in the room. Green and environmentally friendly as well. Private sector participation, and of course continue to internationally benchmark. The reason why someone like LASWA now has Interferry is because we have a lot of lessons to learn, and we have a lot of peer-to-peer learning. Seated in this room, you have operators from pretty much everywhere in the world, and that's very, very important for us in a place like Lagos. Next slide, please. So where are we? Where were we? Where are we? Where are we going? So this is sort of where we started from. We're gradually transitioning to the omnibus. We need a lot more of that, and we eventually believe that we'll be able to get to the boat you see at the bottom part of where we are, where we're constantly moving about 250,000 people daily on our ferry operations. We have a 90% accident rate reduction, and of course a 400 billion investment which will be unlocked through this project. Quite ambitious, but to be honest, if you don't dream big, you'll never be able to achieve anything. Lagos today has a rail line service which is working, and we're glad about that, and it's because people decided to do what they had to do and left the excuses and didn't give any excuses, and we have 2 functional rail lines now with a 3rd one coming up as well. Social and environmental benefits, I don't need to bore you with that because they've said so much regarding all of that. Next slide. Sorry, I think I should have one more slide from right, but I think that's actually getting to the last. Next slide. That's the last slide? Okay, thank you. So that's my last slide. Thank you very much for listening to us, and I hope it wasn't boring for you. We'll take a quick question and answers, and then we'll take it from the MC. Over to you. Can they move the stage as well, please?
So our event coordinators have given us paper and pen. They'll be collecting the questions and bringing them on stage for our panelists to answer. So if there are any questions that have been collected by our event coordinators, please kindly bring them forward for them to be attended to at this time. Alternatively, our event coordinators can bring the microphone to you, and then you can just ask your questions. Yes, please, so that we can bring the microphone to you, and then we take the questions. So please, in asking your questions, kindly let us know who your question is directed at. So Who's in charge of that question can quickly speak to that aspect.
Thank you. My question's for Dami Laswa. And the last point I think is, or what you said towards the end of your presentation is so critical. And my question is, how will you bring those informal operators into that room?
They're already in the room, so I don't need to bring them in the room. It's okay. So I said they're already in the room, so I don't need to bring them into the room. Does that make any sense? I'm just joking. I know, I'm just joking about. Well, you're right. So which is why we mentioned there as well. One, there's a fund for Versal Industry Transition Plan, because we learned that from the bus as well. We have the same thing we have on the waterways, we have with the bus system as well. When they started all the projects they were starting as well, they didn't initially have that fund. They had to now allocate those funds, and then they get them to form into cooperatives, and it's easy to support as well. So the same thing with us on the waterways, and we've actually asked a number of them to form cooperatives, and then with that fund it's going to be easy to be able to support them with the cooperatives. Thank you. I hope I don't get all the questions. I'll just leave the room.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Edmond Chilaka. Actually, my question is a follow-up to what the last person asked you. And my understanding of what he's saying is by bringing the other operators into the room, is LASWA going to provide a leadership that would enable the smaller operators to come up in their standard of service provision? Is LASWA able to help them to improve their service offering? So I think that is an enlargement of what he's talking about by bringing the other operators into the room. Is LASWA going to operate alone like an elephant, or are you going to bring the other smaller operators to come up in their services? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for that. I think first of all, LASWA is not an operator. We're a regulator, so we're not going to operate as an elephant. We'll definitely not do that. But you're right, because one of the things you touched on as well is there has to be capacity building for them to be able to meet up with what we want them to do. So it's part of the things that is also involved to have capacity building, even in line with the new ferries and the new system. So with them organizing themselves into cooperatives and being able to apply for these the ferries when they eventually come, then they have to also they'll also be exposed to the same capacity, because this project has a budget to be able to ensure that LASWA has the capacity to be able to execute this. So in amongst LASWA stakeholders are these operators who would also benefit from that. Thank you.
Very much. My name is Glory Onyebule, and I work with the Nigerian Meteorological Agency. To the LASWA, oh God, I just spoke. I like the work you are doing. We used to hear of several accidents, especially on the Lagos waterways, because there's a lot of crowd here, and people sometimes get tired of being in the traffic on the road. But I'm a bit worried because I have been in NIMET. I have not heard you talk about, using weather information to support what you are doing. The same way weather is very important in the aviation sector for the aircraft, I think weather information is of critical role to what you are doing. And, I know it's a work in progress and there's still room for improvement. It would be nice if you can consider including meteorological services into what you do. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you would also bear me witness that we sent a letter to NIMET about last year. It's almost about a year now, and we know that officers came from there. They mentioned certain things that we needed in terms of technology. And then once we advance our systems, we'll definitely ensure that we can coordinate you. But the reason why we've also invited you here today is because there's the willingness to be able to collaborate with you and ensure that we can receive weather forecasts which we can then share with the operators. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Sadly, we may not be able to take any more questions for this session. However, somebody wants to know if it's possible to share the presentations with delegates. So is that a possibility? Okay,
Yes.
so
Yes,
yes to that question. So I guess when we have the presentations, we can look at them at our spare time. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause for our speakers. Please rise for a brief photo opportunity. Where's our official photographer? Before we continue with the rest of the program. Thank you very much. Of course, congratulations to the Pastranas. If you ever need a master of ceremonies for that celebration in the Philippines, I am here for you. Thank you. Also, during lunch, our distinguished speakers will be available to answer your questions. They'll be available for you to also pick their brains. So please note that the conversation continues even after this session. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Now, when GM was speaking, he talked about a certain category of people, the Lagos Marine Police. But there's also a category of people here that I like to specially recognize. The Association of Tourist Boat Operators and Water Transporters of Nigeria at Bowaton. Please, if you're a member of that association, can you stand up for recognition? Let's see you. Please stand up for recognition at Bowaton. Let's see you. Please give them a resounding round of applause. Thank you very much. Please resume your seats. Another group of people who are also very, very crucial to the conversations that we will be having here are the Waterfront Boat Owners and Transporters Association of Nigeria, Wabotan. Please stand up for recognition. Let us see all the members of Wabotan in this room at this time. Can we see them? If you are here. Okay? I understand that some of them are key. All right, so thank you very much for joining us here today. Now, another group of people that deserve a lot of respect are the ferry captains. Do we have any ferry captains here in this room today? Ferry captains. All right, beautiful. For those of us who know ferry captains, we know that they deserve quite, because they do so much. They have to dodge fishermen, dodge coconut sellers, and even dodge goats crossing the lagoon. You are surprised? Well, this is Lagos. Anything is possible. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we will be moving very quickly to our first panel session of the day. And this panel session, we will be talking about navigation. And 3 things will be discussed in this panel session: buoyage and channelization, weather forecasts for safe navigation. And to moderate this panel session, I'd like to invite the Regional Maritime University, Mr. Joseph Benedict Orbin of the Regional Maritime University, RMU, Ghana. Please put your hands together for our moderator for the very first panel session for this event. If your hands are not too tired, please keep clapping until he gets to the stage. All right. So Mr. Orbin will moderate this panel session. He will call onto the stage his panelists. And for the next 1 hour, they will be discussing navigation, talking about buoyage and channelization, weather forecasts for safe navigation for the next 1 hour. Please note that for the sake of time, it will be important that we take all our questions together. So I would appreciate if we can just be noting our questions and writing them down so that once the panel session is concluded, we can now go ahead with the questions so that we can move quickly with the program. Okay, Mr. Orbin has joined us. Please, a round of applause for him as he comes forward. He is of the Department of Nautical Science. Please have your seat, sir. Mr. Joseph Benedict Orbin is the head of Department Nautical Science from the Regional Maritime University, Accra, Ghana. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, and warm greetings from the Regional Maritime University to you all. anytime I'm in Lagos, I look so excited because I've come to my big brother's house and I can do anything because all that it will happen if anything goes wrong is that they will tell me, hey, you small boy from Ghana, go back, Joe. That's what they're going to tell me. So I look excited because I've come to my big brother's house. Without wasting time, we've got some discussion to make. And before we start the discussion, I'm sure the MC highlighted the issues of war, buoyage, and channelization. Of course, there is the need for us to know the history of buoyage systems. Buoyage systems came into being because of incessant accidents that happened at sea, because of different buoyage systems that were used. Of course, those of you honorable captains at sea, you know that when we are navigating, the only time we have problem is when we are making a landfall. That is when the ship is approaching the coast because of a lot of installations that we have there. At the high seas, that is what we call the ocean navigation. It's a luxury because you don't have so much problems there. So without talking much about the importance of buoyage system to safety navigation, I will call on the speakers. One of them is Mr. Darren Johnson. Mr. Darren Johnson is the Vice President and Marine Operation of BC Canada, is going to join me for this discussion. Welcome. I also have the Managing Director and CEO of Real Hydrocraft Marine Limited, and he is Mr. Olayola Solisi. If he's here, can you join me for this discussion? Thank you. I also have the Director General and the CEO of Nigeria Meteorological Agency and permanent representative of Nigeria with World Meteorological Organization, and he's by name Professor Charles Anosike. If he's here, he can join me on the podium for this discussion. So like I said, I've got my panel with me, and so for the next 1 hour, we're going to talk about some of the things that we need to ensure that navigation is safe. Prompt me on the time. You are good timekeeper. So to Mr. Darren, you know that when they initial introduction of the buoyage system led to two regions. We've got region A and region B. And that in itself created a problem because if I leave Tinker Island and I'm going to London, I know that is going to be region A. But if I turn from there and I'm going to Philadelphia, I've got problems because we've got region B. Now, coming to this side of our world, developing countries, we still have difficulties with the buoyage systems, particularly when it comes to maintenance, when it comes to challenges. So to you, what do you think we have to do as a developing coastal state to make sure that we are able to maintain some of the problems that come with these buoyage systems?
Yeah, thanks very much for the question. Yeah, obviously buoyage, very important to navigation, so it really starts with risk and your assessment of risk. And if you've got a system that's up and running and well-maintained buoyage and other navigation marks, then you're probably managing your risk well. But if your operators are bringing reports back from on water to the office saying that there are problems with the buoyage is out of position, the navigation marks are failing, they're corroded, they're falling in the water, now your risk level is increasing and you need a plan. So the plan would involve working with maintenance personnel with the authority that is responsible for the upkeep and installation of these buoys and beacons, and the plan needs to be funded and, of course, implemented in a reasonable time frame. For navigation personnel, they need to know where the issues are immediately. So if you're working from a chart, then you need to have indicated on the chart where the problem is so that you can avoid it, particularly at nighttime.
Okay, my attention has been drawn to something that we can quickly correct that. So they've got a bit of pieces of presentation to do, after which we can continue with the questions. So I will call on Mr. Johnson. If he's got something to do, he quickly does that before we continue. Thank you.
Akaro. Hello. My name's Darren Johnston, and I come from a place that is very, very far away from here on the Pacific Ocean in Victoria, Canada. It took me a long time to get here. I took many, many airplanes, and it took me many, many days to get here. I think next time I will come by ferry. Just very briefly, a little bit of my background. I'm ex-Navy, so I'm an operator. I'm a former ship driver, so I can relate to the practical problems that your operators, your captains and crew experience on a daily basis. And we talk a lot about safety culture. That's where safety culture starts. I have some experience in Africa many, many years ago with the United Nations, as you see in my history, but currently I work for BC Ferries, where I first met Mike Corrigan, and I've been there for almost 18 years now. I spent a good portion of my early years at BC Ferries as the head of the safety department, so marine safety is at my core. So why are we here? Well, you've already heard this term used many times already today, safety culture. We're here to build a safety culture so that we can prevent images like the ones that you see on the screen here. And every single one of these images represents entirely preventable death. In some cases, we're talking thousands of people. In other cases, a small number of people. And you heard Mike Corrigan talk about an incident at my company where we lost a ship and 2 passengers. Might not sound like a large number, but it matters. 2 lives lost is not insignificant. So, where do we start when it comes to safe navigation? Well, you heard earlier, as part of establishing a safety culture, we need a safety management system. And no part of a safety management system is more important than the part that deals with safe navigation. So if we have commitment for management to prioritize navigation safety, and we do it well, we will achieve efficient operations because our teams will know what they're doing and they will know that it is safe to be doing it that way. And then, because we're efficient as well as safe, we'll become profitable. So the business model can be built completely around the concept of safety. So first, you need to get a fix on the chart. You need to establish where you are now and make an assessment, an evaluation of your current state. Sometimes it's best to do that by having an independent third party come into your organization and help you understand where your key vulnerabilities and risks are. Once you've done that, you can start to develop a plan. So navigation is always built on having a navigation plan, which means, as I said when we were talking about voyage systems, risk assessment. Get your people, your operators, your frontline staff, as Mike Corrigan said in his presentation, to tell you what the problems are. and then engage them in putting the risk control measures, the solution to the problem, in place. And that will become the basis of your safety management system, your policies, your procedures, the way that you operate your vessels, the way that you navigate your ships will be based on their evaluation of the risk and their solution to the problem. So, weather, meteorological input, the environmentals, absolutely critical. At my company, every single crew member has their own iPhone, their personal iPhone, or some sort of smartphone. Every single one of those operators for a number of years now has been using the weather apps. There are a whole bunch of weather apps available. The one I use is called windy.com. So in order to support our crews, we've now started to issue each of our ship's captains with an iPad. And it has a whole bunch of weather apps loaded onto the iPad that they can carry around with them to get real-time weather information to make a decision whether or not they're safe to go or not safe. And of course, that decision on to go or not to go is based on some sort of risk assessment that was done as part of the planning process. So how do we put all this in place? In very practical terms. We create checklists. So I would strongly urge all operators, even operators on small water taxi style boats with outboard motors and a capacity of only 20 people, to have standard operating procedures written down on a checklist. And your steering console might look a little bit like this console that I'm standing at right now. And if it does, that doesn't give you an excuse not to have a checklist for safe navigation. You can drill a bolt in the side of your steering console. You can put a metal ring through your plastic laminated checklist, and you can hang it right there at your steering console so that your operators always know where to go to get basic practical guidance on how to handle challenging navigational situations. And those checklists can be updated fairly easily. If there's new wrecks found in the channel, you can put a wreck avoidance symbol on your chartlet next to your checklist and refer to it in operation. And finally, the execution of your plan is going to start with briefing. So a simple task that can be done at the start of every operational day to review the day-to-day risks is to have a safety briefing. And it's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street, a conversation with your crews, led by the captain, to make sure that we haven't overlooked something critical for today's safe navigation. Did I mention use checklists? Very important. Checklists will keep you on track. And if we have to deviate from track, the checklist will be an aid that will guide you through the decision-making process of whether or not your deviation is a safe one. This can allow you to highlight things like changes in buoyage systems, the identification of new wrecks, and I love the idea of using drones to be able to identify new wrecks that might be existing in the waterways. Electronic aids, if you have the ability to have a simple electronic chart display on your vessel, that's great. But in practical terms, especially if you're operating a small water taxi style craft, maybe that's not feasible. So, have a paper chart with your plan on it, laminate it in plastic cover, and put it on that hook beside the steering console so that your operators always know that there is a plan and that they've got support because it's written down and available at hand. Also, heads-up navigation, critical. Nighttime, backscatter lighting can make it very confusing just because your vessel can go 22 knots. Thank you. Just because you can go 22 knots doesn't mean you should be going 22 knots. Safe speed for navigation and anti-collision might mean going 10 knots for a little while. The customer would rather get there safely than not get there at all. Finally, a couple of words on bridge team management. Comes down to training and making sure that all of your people are aware of the basic procedures in place and that they know that they have a voice in the conduct of your safe navigation. Did I mention use checklists? Next slide. And the next one after that. I'll leave you here with a couple of resources that I find very useful in putting together these kind of navigation plans. And I'll draw your attention to the last one here, Fish Safe. It's designed for fishing vessels. I use it all the time. It's got very, very practical guidelines and instructions for how to put together safe operating procedures, the foundation of your safety culture in place for your people, your operators on the front line. So in conclusion, next slide, just a reminder to get your people involved, reviewing the risks that are involved in day-to-day navigation. Let them set the basic mitigation plan for how to navigate safely. Make sure it's their plan and encourage them to speak up. Bad news before it becomes an incident is the best policy that you can have in place to make sure that your navigation practices are safe. Thanks very much.
So thank you so much. And the next on the line is our gentleman, and he's also going to talk about buoyage and chart, and I'm sure he's going to do justice to the subject. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll run through this very quickly. So, I know many of us, when we're coming in today, we have to rely, even if it's the first time, even if we've been here before, we have to rely on consulting the oracle to get here, know if the traffic is free, or even if you want to know the traffic speed. And when I'm talking about oracle, I'm talking about Google Map as the oracle. Okay, so my topic, my presentation is charting and marking Nigeria's inland water transport routes as imperative conditions for ensuring navigational safety and efficiency. Very quickly, what are nautical charts? They are just much similar to the map that you use, but only this is for the marine environment. So they are created for marine navigations. They help you plan your sailing routes, give you details how you can move on the waterways. And they are developed from surveys done by hydrographers. You have to carry out the surveys to get it done. And do I have my mouse? Okay, great. So they give you a lot of information about the waterways, featured like depths, rocks, wrecks, pylons. Oftentimes you find those towers stringing electric cables. They help you know where they are. They are very essential. They enable safe and efficient marine travel, help you define your routes, plotted on these charts for planned ferry voyages. And this is very important. Oftentimes, when you travel on waterways in Nigeria, and let me use Lagos. I need to congratulate Lagos, the LASWA, and how well they've done on Lagos waterways. I need to also congratulate NIWA too for the activities they are doing in that respect. And we will get there, but let me quickly move through my presentation. So, depth information you find on those nautical charts. They give you the depth as you move through and help you avoid grounding in shallow areas. Of course, through those charts, you will identify those hazards. And then, where you have navigational aids, the buoys, will also guide you on which side of the channels that you need to move. Okay, and you can effectively plan your voyage. Some charts do give you some tidal information. Some do that. And there are also economic benefits when you have charts. They encourage investors to invest in these very expensive assets for conveying goods and people from the urban centers to the hinterlands. So they're very, very good in developing the economy. Many of urban centers rely on supplies from these hinterlands. You find them around inland ports. You find them around harbors. So this is very important. Okay. Next slide. So very quickly, so basically, what is channel marking? Just like I've said. Sorry. Yes. Just like I said, I moved away from. Sorry, I'm moving very fast. Moved away from the nautical charts. Now we are in. We're going to talk about marking the channels, and I remember in GM, Mr. Emmanuel's presentation, it mentioned the intention to mark the waterways as they carry out the channelization of these ferry routes. Okay, so they direct vessels to the sites of navigable channels. Nigeria belongs to the region A of the IALA buoyage system. So we have Europe, we have Africa, we have some Asian countries there as well. Okay, moving. And so when you install buoys in this part, in region A, you have the, for lateral buoys, you have the red buoys, you have them on the left, and then you have the green buoys on the right. They help you sail and navigate safe waters as you move along there. So they assist mariners to sail within safe waters, avoiding shallow depths, assist mariners and boaters avoid hazards, and assist in the flow of controlling traffic where you have busy waterways. Okay, and then do a quick overview of AIDS navigation system. We're going to talk about. Okay, thank you. This is what I was trying to fly through. I'm going to have to jump a lot now. Let me talk about the Laswa E-Atons corridor in the Bute Ojo Ijeguengba area. This was a project carried out by Laswa about 2 years ago. So fly through it. So it has the direction from Ebute Ojo and terminates at Ijeguengba. The buoyage system incorporates lateral spar buoys, preferred channel spar buoys, and special mark buoys. And then at the end of the project, a nautical, the art cartographers work on it and developed a nautical chart. I have spinning through. So here's a fair sheet. Sorry. No, okay, sorry. So what you have here is a fair sheet, and of course not that visible, but all these dotted lines, and you look at there are depths. There are different depth values from shallow to the deeper side of it, up to about 13 meters, 13.5 meters at Ijeguengba, and about 3 meters at Ebute Ojo. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. questions from audience now. Okay, so you should speak right now. Okay, I think we are constrained with the time. We don't have enough time. So at this point, we want to find out from the audience if there's anybody who's got a question to ask relating to what. Okay, sorry. I've got my now speaker, and he's got limited time to do that. So without wasting time, could you come? Thank you.
So, good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I was actually supposed to present a speech. However, I want to firstly thank LASMA, MOCA, and Ferry for giving us this opportunity to engage and amplify the importance of weather forecast into ferry operations. For those who don't know Nigerian Meteorological Agency, Nigerian Meteorological Agency is an agency that has been in existence for close to 130 years, pre-colonial establishment. But up till 2003, it was enacted into law. The responsibility of Nigerian Meteorological Agency is to monitor the Nigerian atmosphere, generate forecasts, and contribute to socio-economic development of Nigeria. And that includes the maritime industry, which is close to over 846 kilometers of our coastline. And we have weather stations in we have 8 stations across that coastline. So it is important for me to echo what the previous speakers have said about weather information, because weather observation and weather forecast, these are two crucial, they are very crucial, not just for the safe operation of ferries, but also to the optimization of their route planning, minimization of risk associated with severe weather. We have had several incidents in Nigeria, and with high casualty. So it's very, very critical that we understand the role of meteorological information, particularly compliance. Previous speakers have mentioned issue of integrating culture of safety. Someone earlier also mentioned weather policy. These are key areas we need to embrace a new culture and begin to integrate not just the culture, but also to imbibe the spirit of compliance and collaboration. We cannot achieve this without enormous coordination, which we all know that our country is a large area to traverse when it comes to managing disasters. So I want to encourage LASWA. We already have a relationship with MOCA. I want to encourage Oluwa Damilola. I love your energy, and I'm reaching out to you immediately after this conference so we can have partnership. We are doing a lot with Lagos State, particularly Southwest. We have major products which are now is a national products, seasonal climate prediction, where we unveil the dynamics of the weather, particularly rainfall, flood. A lot of us will experience flood, or we're already experiencing it, and it's also happening in the coastal area. It's a problem for ferry operators. So I want to thank you for inviting us here. I had a 3-page speech to make, but we are out of time. But I'm looking forward to engaging one-on-one with several partners here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Like I earlier said, we don't have time, so we're going to allow 2 questions, given the technical nature of the subject matter. From the audience, if you've got any question, 2 people to do that so that we can wrap up and then stand down for break. It's about safety issues. We We don't, like you are traveling on the road, we've got so many signs that help you to navigate your way to wherever you are going. We don't build roads on the seas. So we have visible signs. And one of the places that is very dangerous if you are navigating is when you are approaching the coast. That's where you've got so many installations. So we need signage. That's what we call the buoyage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. To the presenter, Laiwola Sholisi, you made a mention of navigating, that's moving in a good directional basis. And I just want to probably find out what exactly is happening in that space now. Because I know very well that some of the boat operators, the navigating system that is supposed to be in the boat itself is not functional. And where that's failed, all what you're telling us might be a problem. So I think the regulator should take this as a task, that for any boat that needs to ply the waterway, this should be one of the conditions that must be in place to certify that such things are working perfectly. Because once it doesn't work, the essence is that you apply the waterway and you can't navigate, and at the end of the day it will lead to an accident. I think it's something that we need to take away from here, that the regulator who is actually regularizing the system of operation should also take this as a very key point in addressing these factors. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's more of a comment. I don't know whether you want to say something again.
Thank you, Mr. Awoju. Great. Very quickly, what you were talking about are sonars, right? The sonars on the... Yes, exactly. Very important, because they can give you the depth on it. So, but if they don't function and you have buoyage corridors along the waterways, that can help. Because they will guide them through where they're going to take. Because if you're coming in from the open sea and you're going upstream, just like if I look at I want to make reference to the buoyage system on the buoyage corridor of Ijegwengba, Ebute Ojo. All the mariners need to know, the captains need to know, understand the symbols. They don't need to be so techy. Because buoyage, the shapes, the colors, they help. So if they're coming, you're going along the port, you know, these are cans, they are red, you know, they're red, basic knowledge. Sorry, excuse me. This is where I'm going to pass, you know. And if it's the night, they will have the night, they have the illumination on it. So you're right. I totally agree with you. The regulator is aware. We engage the regulator regularly. That's right.
Thank you. And this one is going to be the last question that brings the section to an end.
Dolphin, safety, dolphin, safety. This room is not lively, so we have to make it lively. This is a Boat Operators Association. First and foremost, I need to commend the organizer of this program, Laswa and Niwa, for the efficient navigation system in Lagos waterways. They have tried a lot, but all things being equal, we still need to put something in place. Like the signage the gentleman is talking about, they've tried and put some signage in place, but it's wrongly placed. They need to carry the boat operators along while placing this signage. At times you find somewhere that's shallow, they put green sign. Somewhere that is shallow, they put green sign, which means it's wrong. So they need to carry us along when they are putting all this signage. They've tried a lot having this signage boil and every other things. But please, if you are doing it, let operators that are used to the system be part of those people that will install this signage. So we really commend them for what they are doing. Lagos State government is investing a lot in navigation system, in making sure the navigation system is perfect and all these sort of things. But along the line, please let us carry us along in whatever we're doing. And another thing is that the authority should try and bring us closer to the system. They should try and bring us closer to the system in such a way that all these conferences on MOWAC and all these sort of things, they should at least sponsor one or two operators to attend that program so that we can rub mind with other colleagues in other parts of the world, like this Gabon, Librefree, this thing. It should expose the operators to what is going on in other parts of the world, in other parts of the country. Thanks very much.
Not get safety right if you take away the human beings, because 80% of accidents are human errors. To correct that, education of the human being is vital, crucial to that. So over to you. Thank you so much for this session. I'm going to hand over to our...
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, please a round of applause for our first panelists. I think they deserve a better round of applause if you ask me, because in record time they have been able to do justice to the topic of channelization, buoyage, weather forecasts, and safe navigation. And so at this time, gentlemen, what an interesting panel, no lady. Please stand up for a brief photo opportunity. Our photographers, please, a quick picture for the panelists of the very first panel session of the Ferry Safety Conference in Lagos, Nigeria. And after that, we'll be moving to other activities on the program. All right. Don't forget that at lunch, there will be opportunities for you to ask questions of the panelists. All right. I'd like to recognize some people who are here today. They're here today as exhibitors. If you've stepped out of the room or when you were coming in, you realize that we have some exhibition stands outside. And so during lunch, I encourage you to please go out and take a look at the exhibition stands that we have there. We have Brass Marine exhibiting. We have Desmi Flow Technology, RIL Hydrocrafts Limited, Cavertine Marine Limited, Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, LAMATA. We have the Lagos State Health Management Agency, LASHMA. We have CASI Healthcare, and also the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, DSVA. All of them are exhibiting at this event today and tomorrow. Very important announcement also, ladies and gentlemen. This event comes with a certificate of participation, which will be issued at the end of the second day. So if you are leaving now, do you think that you qualify for that certificate? I leave you to answer that question. So that certificate will be issued at the end of day 2. So I enjoin all of us to stick around for the whole 2 days and be part of the conversation so that we can truly earn the certificate of participation. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 3 individuals are going out to lunch. As they are going out to lunch, they come upon a genie's lamp. Ladies and gentlemen, when you find a genie's lamp, what do? Who knows? Yes, you rub it and you make a wish. So the first man rubs it and then he makes a wish. He says, I wish to find myself on the island of Seychelles, sipping margaritas, and poof, he vanishes. The second one rubs the lamp and he wishes. He says, I wish to find myself in Mauritius on a 5-star resort, and poof, he vanishes. The third individual, who happens to be their captain, says, I wish those 2 right back on the boat after lunch. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is lunchtime, and I wish that after lunch you would come back to the room to continue the conversation. We have 3 more panel sessions going on after lunch today. Our event coordinators will be here today will be around at this time to direct us on the order for going out to lunch. So we are going to the second floor. Our event coordinators who are smiling, looking beautiful in black dresses and blue neckerchiefs are here to direct us using the lift to the second floor where we will have lunch. Please note that lunch is for 45 minutes. Do you agree or do you agree? Thank you very much. So for 45 minutes, we will have lunch and we will reconvene for the rest part of the program. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.